I'm David Ben Moshe, and with me is Chaim Ben Pesach. There's a website called News with Views, and these are writers. I don't know if they're professional or what. They might be because they write very well. There's a few of them who do political commentary on news reports that you hear on television, on the radio, or through the internet. And one of the stories was that there's a lot of stories going around about illegals that the media buries, that you don't hear about. That, you hear ridiculous statements like they all come here to work, when some come here to collect welfare and use our hospitals as their primary physician, and some come here just to steal, as some Colombians did in Queens, where we film just a few years ago. They feel they're taking from the rich white gringo. But there are other stories that you don't hear. And this was on News with Views, and it was sent to me. And here's one of the stories. I'm going to give you a few stories. One is about a black drywaller who is now out of work because he can't compete. The wages he wants are just not competitive anymore. They're hiring all illegal Mexicans to do the work, and they pay them less than minimum wage. It's all off the books, and they don't have to pay Social Security or anything. It's illegal Mexicans doing the work. That here you finally have a black who wants to do work, and he can't. There's a little longer story. There's this company, this is in South Carolina, that does roofs. He does the copper on the roof. And he did this job for this house in the past. Twice he did some work for this house in the past, and he put a bid in for a major renovation on this house. And when he didn't hear anything, and he put in a very low bid, he knew he was competing against illegals. He only hired Americans. He put in a very low bid, never heard another word. So one day he drove past the job site where the house is, and he sees them working on the roof, and it's all illegals. There isn't a single American there. Everyone's a Mexican. And so he spoke to the owner, and the owner of the house said that it was just, your bid wasn't even close. And this was as low as this guy could possibly go. He admitted in the story that a few years ago he made about $180,000 a year. This year so far, because of lack of work, because the Mexicans have practically put him out of work, he's earned $18,000. He said last year at this time he earned $120,000. This year at this time he's up to $18,000. Well, he blew a gasket. He went home and told his wife, "Don't expect me home tonight. I expect to get arrested." He went down there with his crew, and they were screaming at cars passing by that Mexicans are taking their work. They held up signs of protest. And, of course, the owner of the house came out to see what was going on. And this guy told the owner of the house how greedy he was, that to save a few dollars, he's breaking American border law by hiring all these illegals. The owner of the company that sent all the illegals is breaking American border law. And he basically accused the guy of being greedy, which we know Americans are very greedy for the most part. So this guy couldn't take the protest anymore. He called the police. The police came and took the side of the illegal Mexicans and finally arrested this man for cursing. And so as they're taking him away, he says to the police, "What is worse, all these Mexicans breaking our immigration laws or my cursing?" And the police officer told him, "You're cursing." So there we see a man who's practically being driven out of business, who's trying to do the right thing by keeping Americans employed, and instead the police take the side of the Mexicans, the illegal Mexicans. And this is in South Carolina, where you wouldn't expect this. You would expect the police. When I think of South Carolina, I expect the police to come and pull the Mexicans off the roof and turn them over to INS. And if they hit them with a baton, that's okay too. Chaim, what do you think of these stories that don't make the news but are actually hurting the average middle-class American? And it's the middle-class American, the gardener, the guy with the roofing business, the guy with the construction business that's hiring the Mexicans. It's not the major corporations, because the first thing they ask you, one of the first questions on your application form, are you a U.S. citizen? Are you allowed to work in the U.S.? It's these small and intermediate-sized businesses that are doing this for the most part.
Well, if the United States continues down this path, the United States won't exist. It's as simple as that. America already is 14% black, about 15% Hispanic. That's 29%. Then you have various other racial minorities, so it comes to about, if you add up all the other racial minorities, it comes to about 35%. America is about 65% white Caucasian, white Anglo, and that number is shrinking very quickly. And what you have here is tens of millions of illegal aliens here who are attracting millions more, hundreds of thousands crossing our border all the time. Plus, they have a much higher birth rate than people in the United States. Plus, whites have a lower birth rate than the minority groups. So when you put all of that together, you have a prescription for a ticking time bomb, and the majority of America will be non-white. California. I remember the greatest Jewish leader in Jewish history, Rabbi Meir Kahana, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Hashem Yikom Damo, would speak in California. And he spoke in Orange County, which at that time was supposed to be right-wing Republicans. And he said, what are you doing here? You're letting all these people in, you're going to destroy He saw what was going on. And they said, oh, no, you don't know. No, don't exaggerate. California is a majority white state. We have things under control. We've got a right-wing Republican governor, Ronald Reagan, they told him. Reagan was the governor at the time. I remember. They laughed at Rabbi Kahana warning them. Today, California is 60% non-white. The biggest state in America is 60% non-white. The second biggest state in America, Texas, is 52% non-white. The two biggest states in America, California and Texas, are majority non-white. And the other states in America are not far behind. Florida is on its way. New York is more than 40% non-white. New York State. New York is the fourth biggest state. So we have a situation where all of America is turning into a third world country. Now, if you think there's nothing wrong with this, if you think that America will be fine if it has a non-white third world majority, and if you think America will continue to function as a first world Western modern country, fine. If you think that, by the way, then I would urge you to move into one of the major urban areas of our big cities and see what happens when the majority of the population come from these non-white groups. Live among them and see. Move to Washington, D.C. and see what it's like. Move to Atlanta. Move to Newark, New Jersey, or Gary, Indiana, or the south side of Chicago. Move, if you live in New York City, to the Bronx. And see what happens when they become the majority. See what happens. Now, is it wrong? Is it prejudice for us to say that these other people have dozens of third world countries in which they have their culture and they could live in they live in their countries and we don't want to take over their countries? Is it wrong for us to say that there should be just one country called the United States of America, one country in the world where we preserve the unique American culture that existed? Don't we have a right to one country? Don't we have a right to say there should be one country where that unique thing called American culture, Americana, is preserved? Don't we have a right to that? Is there something wrong with that? Are we so insane as to say that they have a right even to take this over so that we have nothing? So that we have zero? So that they're a majority everywhere? So that we're a minority everywhere? So that we become a stepped upon, persecuted, hated, despised culture of the past? That's what we're headed to. We are yesterday. We are the past. We're on our way to self-destruction. We don't have the birth rate to keep up with them. We are not enforcing our laws. We're doomed if we continue like this, if we allow these traitor politicians to continue like this. The only answer is to do what God has given us the power to do. We have the power. We have the strength. We are the strongest. America is the strongest nation in the world. America can easily control her borders if she really wanted to. America can easily adjust the economy, and instead of hiring illegal aliens, we can hire white teenage kids. That's what we used to do in the old days, if you want to pay lower wages. Help us. Join with us before it's too late, because we tell a truth that has to be told. Shalom.